And we're live! Hey everybody, it's Allie from Padfoot Palms, Poodles, and Pals. So I was just jumping on here today because I wasn't able to do our regularly scheduled live session on Friday. I had a migraine. It was bad. The worst part was I actually had to work the whole day because my coworker was out. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. I see we've already got some people joining. Hello, happy Sunday. If you would, please, if you would just drop me a comment down in the comment section so that I know that they're working, then we can go ahead and get started. Yeah, hey, we got people joining. Okay, great. If somebody would just drop me a comment down there below so I know the comments are working, then we can go ahead and get this party started. I need somebody to drop me a comment. Hey guys. Okay, if you're just joining, I'm just waiting for somebody to drop a comment down there for me so I know if the comments are working. Sometimes Facebook glitches and the comments don't work. Hey, Heather, thank you. Okay, great. Comments are working. Fantastic. Okay, so how I usually start out the live sessions is I just ramble for a little while. It gives people a chance to join in. And if at any point you have any questions about any topic, you just put them down there in the comments and then I start reading the questions. So yeah, all right. So for my ramble today, I wanted to talk to you guys. Hey, hi Allie. Hello, Allie from Allie. So I was going to talk to you guys while I ramble a little bit about wait lists and deposits. Hi, Yuko. So I see that there are a ton of people that are still out, in the market for adding a dog to their home. And they're getting on, they're placing a deposit and getting on a breeder's wait list. Hi, Jacqueline. So there are a couple of things that you really want to take into account if you're considering getting on a breeder's wait list. And one of the first things that you want to do is you want to make sure that you've gone over all of your questions, all of your concerns. You've checked all of the breeder's health testing and genetic testing that they do. You want to actually see it, right? You don't, I would like to say that there are only good breeders in the world, right? And when they say, oh, my dogs are genetically tested and they're clear, right, that we could take them at their word for that. But unfortunately, the not so good breeders and puppy millers and brokers and things, they have all figured out that this is starting to become important to buyers. And so they'll just say, oh yeah, the dogs are genetically health tested and they're clear, right? And then they'll just keep moving on with the sale. And that's problematic because as it turns out, those dogs aren't tested and clear and they may have a genetic disorder that you're not aware of. So it's very important that you see the documentation, familiarize yourself with that documentation and what it looks like. And what you need to see is somewhere on there, you need to see the breeder's name and the dog's name. And that is very, very important. They can black out their address, they can black out their phone number, anything else, right? Because obviously they're sharing their information publicly. But you need to be able to see which dog it is that had that testing, and you need to see that it's from that breeder, because there are a lot of scammers out there that are just pulling the genetic testing paperwork from other breeders' websites and then claiming that that's their testing. So always do your due diligence, ask to see the paperwork. before you place a deposit, you need to familiarize yourself with that breeder's contract. So hopefully it is a good breeder and they have gone over all of the topics that are in the contract. They've given it to you so that you can see it. They may go ahead and have you sign it, which would be excellent. Sometimes they want you to sign it in person, which is also fine, but you need to see it beforehand. The reason being is these contracts are so vastly different. Some of them are extremely complicated and specific, and some of them are, very easy, very short, sweet, to the point. So you need to understand what is expected of you before you place that deposit. So for those of you that are just joining, thank you for joining. We've got quite a group that's growing here. Hey, Cheryl says, hello, new to the group. Well, hello there. I'm so glad that you're here. So to tell Cheryl and others of you that are joining, when I start these live sessions, I just ramble for a little bit about a topic, a dog topic. And then if you have questions, they can be about any topic, just go ahead and put them in the comments section below. And then once I kind of give people a chance to join, then I go back and read the questions. So yeah, so feel free to put your questions in the comments, even though I'm rambling on. Okay, so what are some other things that you need to do if you are considering placing a deposit either on a puppy or to be on a breeder's wait list? Well, you need to see their dogs. You need to see them with your eyes. And I'm not talking about a picture. You need to either do FaceTime, do a messenger call, right, where you can do face-to-face. You need to do something where you can account that the dogs are actually there. And the reason why you have to do this is because of all the scammers that are out there that are stealing breeders' pictures, stealing breeders' videos, and claiming, oh yeah, here's these puppies. Oh yes, they're all available. Okay, great, send me your deposit. And then they block you and you never hear from them again, and now you've lost your money. So very, very important that you see the dogs. Even if the litter has not been born yet, that's okay. If you're looking to get on a wait list, then you need to see the adult dogs. And there are quite a few things that you need to be looking at when you are doing the FaceTime with the breeder. You need to look at the conditions that the dogs are living in, right? You need to look at if the breeder is showing you if they have a dog room, right? Is it clean? Are the dogs clean? Are they well groomed? I was looking at Puppy Find earlier today because I have puppy fever, and there was somebody listed locally to me that had poodles available, and the pictures are of the dogs outside. There's these horrible dog houses out there. The dogs very obviously had not been groomed in or even brushed in I don't even know how long. They couldn't even see, right? All their hairs in their face. It's very, very important that you be picky about that sort of thing before you place a deposit. Don't just look at a series of pictures and assume, oh yeah, okay, this is good, and then just keep going. And there are some of these pictures that are posted in these Facebook groups that are just horrible, and I can't imagine why people would contact that person to buy a puppy from them. It blows my mind. So you need to see the parents, see the puppies if the puppies are born, right? Do a FaceTime call. Talk to this person on the phone. If you are getting any kind of pushback about having a real conversation or seeing the breeder face to face, then you need to run in the other direction, because chances are they are a scammer. They don't have any puppies and they're just trying to take your money. Many times they will they'll try to pressure you into putting down a deposit very quickly. Or if you ask too many questions, they'll get angry with you and say, I've got other people that are interested in these puppies. If you want this puppy, you need to do it, right? To try to rush you into putting down a deposit. Don't ever do that. A responsible breeder is never going to rush you. A responsible breeder is never going to put you in a position where you have to make a decision right on the spot. They're not going to do that. And they're also not going to let you put down a deposit on a puppy and then ask you 0 questions about who you are, where you live, do you have kids, do you have a fenced-in yard? Like, if they ask you 0 questions and they're willing to sell a puppy to you, you need to run the other direction, because they do not have your best interest at heart. They do not have the puppy's best interest at heart, and you're just asking for problems at that point. Okay, so I have rambled on long enough. Let me go back, because we've had quite a few people join and ask questions. Jacqueline said hello. Hello. Heather says, me wanting a puppy. I know. Oh my God. I have puppy fever so bad. I'm on 2 wait lists, both of which are the puppies are not going to be due until potentially over the summer, and then the other one in the fall. And I'm dying, you guys. I'm dying. Okay. Okay, looks like Meg has a question. Okay. Have you heard of carnivore ground sprouted barley seeds? The person at my holistic vet store suggested it as a probiotic, and he gives it to his pets for diarrhea. Okay, so sprouted seeds, I'm not familiar with this specific product. However, I am familiar with sprouted seeds. Sprouted seeds, there are mixed feelings in the nutritional community about sprouted seeds. The idea is that when seeds are starting to sprout, right, they're at their peak of nutrient value, right? Because they're sprouting up, they're putting all their energy into their shoots and, becoming a plant, essentially. Barley is one of those things that if your dog doesn't have a sensitivity, then this would be fine if you wanted to give it. But in my opinion, there are a lot of way better options if you're trying to do a probiotic or a prebiotic other than sprouted seeds. And the reason why I say that is because dogs, they really don't need a whole lot of seeds in their diet. And then plus when you run into something like barley or wheat or, any of those grains, if you end up giving it a lot over time, they could develop a sensitivity, in which case now you've created a potential problem when you're looking at what foods to feed. So this is one of those iffy areas. I would choose a probiotic that is what I would consider to be a safer option, right? Where they're not going to have some kind of reaction to it. I am a huge fan of fermented veggies. I really need to make a video on how to make these, but you can find YouTube videos online. Guys, it is so easy. And even if you don't want to make them yourself, which I totally understand, you can get things like sauerkraut. You can get things like fermented veggies from the grocery store, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be cabbage. They come in a variety of veggies. So you just want to make sure that they don't have any spices, right? Don't end up with kimchi, because your dog will be very mad at you. But probiotics like, goat's milk, you could do an actual pet probiotic. There's a company that I like to use. It's called One Body. It's in my recommendation list with links in the files. It's very easy. It comes in a little capsule. You just dump the powder out into the food or give them the whole capsule is fine. That one is actually good for humans as well. So I would not go for the sprouted barley seeds if it was me, but is it okay to give your dog? Yes, there's nothing wrong with giving it. But for the reasons that I stated, I feel like there are better options out there. But Meg, that was a great question. Thank you for asking. Oh, the dogs heard me. Okay. Jacqueline says, I've heard discussions in the group that if you're using a flea heartworm topical med, then you should give your dog a liver support supplement. Is this true? And if so, which liver support do you recommend? Also, if you decide to not give flea medicine, is giving heartworm prevention okay? Another great question. Okay, you guys are really knocking them out today. Good job. Okay, so Jacqueline, I don't have any research or studies that I could give you about, would a liver support supplement help? Because unfortunately, flea and tick products, whether they are topical or the type that's a pill that you give them, they consist of a lot of chemicals and they affect the body, more organs than just the liver. So could it help? Yes, absolutely. It could. Is it going to keep your dog from having some kind of reaction to a flea or heartworm medicine? No, it's not. But, offering that additional support, if, let's say you only give heartworm medicine, right, to go with your second point. Let's say you only do it every 60 days, which, by the way, I have linked some studies in the group. If you do a search for flea, tick, or heartworm medicine, I did link it in the group that shows that doing it every 60 days can be just as effective as doing it every 30 days. That'll save you money. You're welcome. So let's say you're only going to give it during the summer months, just heartworm, and you're going to do it every 60 days instead of every 30 days. Okay, so I could see how doing a liver support supplement could be beneficial because you're already trying to reduce the amount of risk, right, that you're giving the dog, right, by changing the time frame from every 30 days to 60 days, and then also just doing heartworm instead of heartworm and flea and tick. So I could see how that could be beneficial. I don't have one specifically that I recommend. I could certainly look for one for you if you'd like. But yeah, I don't have one that I recommend off the top of my head. So yeah. That's just gonna have to be one of those things that you have to decide what's best for you. A lot of that is gonna depend on the area in which you live, how bad the fleas and ticks are. Can you use some natural products like Wondercide or Cedarcide, or do you have a yard that is manageable that you can treat? Wondercide makes a sprayer that you hook up to your hose and you can actually treat your whole yard, which is fantastic. And it doesn't hurt any of the birds or anything like that might eat the bugs, so you don't have to worry about that. So yeah, a lot of that is going to play into what would work best for you. So if you live in a colder climate, then you may opt to not do any kind of flea, tick, or heartworm medicine at all. So it really just depends. But that's a great question. Oh, Heather said, what do breed? Heather, I think that's a typo. I'm not sure what you meant there. Oh no, Keisha's stuck at work. That's terrible. Hey, Cheryl says, I'm on a wait list for a puppy. Will receive a standard poodle end of August. Congratulations. I'm so looking forward to it. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. That's you know, I love to see that more and more people are doing this, that they're getting on a wait list with a breeder and then they're planning for their puppy. I love that because it gives you time to kind of get things in order. You can start purchasing little things here and there, like if you want to get them a dog bed, if you want to get them bowls, if you want to, right? You can start to, depending on if your breeder includes a puppy kit and what might be included, you can go ahead and start to get things over time. So Cheryl, I know you said that you are new to the group. I also have a YouTube channel where I show, excuse me, got a hiccup there, where I show how you can save money getting toys and treats and things like that from places like TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Home Goods. I show various sales like when they have them at PetSmart. So definitely go check that out because you can start purchasing stuff now for your puppy, which is so exciting. Oh, Heather said, what breed do you breed? Standard poodles. Standard poodles. Hey, Sabrina's here. Oh, okay. I think she might have a question. I'm going to be visiting my 2 daughters that have 2 mini golden doodles. One is 1.5 years old and the other is 8 months. My 11-pound Pom True is 7 years old. My question is, how do I introduce these dogs to each other? Okay, great. This is a great question. And it looks like there's a second part. So I'm going to pause right here, Sabrina. So the best thing you can do to introduce them is have your 2 daughters take their mini golden doodles and wear them out. I mean, play fetch for an hour, frisbee, go on a long walk, you know, go around the park a couple of times before you get there so that the mini golden doodles are already tired before you even arrive. Now, True is 7 years old, so I would also recommend if you're having to do any kind of traveling, right, where you might be in the car for a long time to visit, take True for a walk, maybe like around the neighborhood. If True is very active, then you need to wear out True as well. Basically, you want all of the dogs to be tired before they meet each other. Then, what I would recommend is that you don't do a face-to-face meeting. And this is where a lot of people have very good intentions, but things go wrong. So they show up at someone's house, they have a dog, you have a dog, we get together, we open the door, and it's like instant barking, chaos, excitement, someone's here, new people, right? And your dog is just bombarded with all of this energy on both sides, right? Not just one or the other, both sides. You're excited to see that person. They're excited to see you. Now we've got dogs that are high energy, right? They're feeding off the excitement. So best thing you can do, get everybody tired before you arrive. And then when you're ready, call the daughters on the phone, have them be ready with mini doodles on leashes. And what you're going to do is you are going to stand over, away from the house. They are going to come out with their dogs and start walking, and you are going to come right along and you are going to start walking. And you need to walk at a brisk pace because what you don't want is for dogs to stop and start sniffing each other. We are on a mission. Set a goal for whatever is at the end of that block. And we are going to boogie. Everybody's got their tennis shoes on. Dogs are geared up and ready to go. They're already tired. And we are going to walk very quickly up that hill, right? And what this does is when dogs travel, at first, there's kind of this excitement. They're like, yay, mom, we're going somewhere. Hey, look, it's another dog, right? But when you walk them at a very brisk pace and they have to think about what they're doing and falling in line next to you, it puts them, it's almost like into this mode where you'll see dogs that are having to actively work to keep up with their owners, and their heads are just slightly down and they are just powering through, and they're like, okay, mom, we're working, we're going, we're walking. And you need to get them to that place. So then they all walk together, right? Which kind of simulates being in a pack, because when you're in a pack, everybody travels together. So we're in a pack, we're traveling together, we're going at a brisk pace. Now we're going to turn around and we're going to come back at a brisk pace, and everybody walks into the house. Now dogs who are tired, who have walked together, right? Now they can have a face-to-face meeting. We can smell butts. We can check passports. It's what Suze calls it, when dogs smell each other butts. So now we can have that kind of interaction of, hey, who are you? Hey, I'm a mini doodle. Hey, I'm a Pomeranian. Okay, great. Let's be friends. Make sure that your daughters pick up all of the toys, all of the food, all of the treats or bones. You don't want to create any kind of situation where any of the dogs could lay claim to something. We're just going to keep it very neutral to start with. So I know I just kind of laid a lot on you there, so if you have a follow-up question, definitely let me know. We will be flying in and staying with the doodle that's 1.5. They have met before, but it was a rocky meeting, lots of nasty snapping from my palm. Okay, yeah, so definitely, with dogs that are young, with doodles in general, right, you got to get that energy out first. Because I'm sure what ended up happening is you brought your Palm over, Doodle was excited for another dog to be there, wants to play, I'm putting my paws on you, Palm is like, hey, you better back off, don't you touch me, right? And now we've created tension. So you guys are flying in, so if you fly in, drive there, just take your Palm for, a couple walks around the block, then call daughter and say, okay, we're ready, right? Walk together. And they may try to get to each other at first. If it continues, right, you need to give them a little leash correction, encourage them to walk. You need to walk faster. Think of it like speed walking, but don't drag your dog. So we're speed walking, we're walking, right? Because it forces them to have to go, okay, wow, mom is on the move. I really have to keep up with her. I don't have time to see who you are, what's going on. We got to go. We're going. We're traveling. So anyway, I hope that helps. But the key is everyone has to be tired beforehand. So, okay. Heather said, do you like Hemopet, sensitivity test, and why? Okay, so I like sensitivity tests. I don't have a specific one that I recommend because they are all faulty to a point. I like sensitivity tests for dogs that have tried everything under the sun. They have tried every kind of kibble, they've tried numerous home-cooked diets, they've tried feeding raw, they've basically tried everything. And they've reached a point where they just, it's like nothing works digestively. So for those type of situations, I think sensitivity tests can be helpful, even though we know they're not 100% accurate. It can give you some options that you may not have otherwise considered as far as various protein sources or maybe some vegetables, that might be causing a problem. Maybe it's environmental. So as long as the pet owner is okay with spending that kind of money on a test and then taking it with a grain of salt, then I think that they can be a useful tool in trying to do right by your pet. It pains me to see a lot of people posting in a lot of these groups where they get these tests done and they're like, oh my gosh, my dog's allergic to this and that and everything, and now I can feed them nothing except popsicles, right? And they get so frustrated, and I think part of it is because they get a test, but then they don't have someone like a canine nutritionist or an herbologist or a holistic vet, right? They don't have the needed professional support to make sense of, okay, where do we go from here? So I do think that those type of tests have their place and they can be useful as a tool, but they are not the end all be all that some people think that they are. So Heather, that was a phenomenal question. That was a good one. Okay. Meg said, thank you. I just wanted to give it to him for a short time since he's still recovering from diarrhea and antibiotics. Okay. Yeah, especially with dogs who have antibiotics, it's very important to rebuild that microbiome. So I would definitely look into doing things like goat's milk, a probiotic that is much more nutrient dense than the sprouts. You could certainly do the sprouts in addition to. But yeah, antibiotics, it's one of those things, again, they have their place, but man, they just kill off all the good flora in the gut, and it's just, you got to get them back to where they need to be. So yeah. Okay, great. Linda said, my dog had seizures from flea pills. Is that true for a lot of POMs? Yes, it is true for a lot of dogs in general, not just POMs. It can be significantly harder on small breeds, just like vaccines can be significantly harder on small breeds, right? If you've got all those chemicals going into a tiny body, it can be problematic. But yeah, that is true. That is true. It's unfortunate. Just like with a lot of different medications that are on the market, both for dogs and for people, there is a certain percentage of problems that they are allowed to have. And unfortunately for dogs, they don't have as many people advocating for them. So the incidences of what is permitted is significantly higher than, let's say, what would be acceptable for humans. So, yeah, it can happen, and it's very sad. And what a lot of pet owners don't realize, and I see this so often and it just breaks my heart, you'll see people that say, oh, well, I use such and such pill. I use Brevecto. I've never had a problem. I use Simparica. I've never had a problem. I use Seresto collar. I've never had a problem. But what they don't realize is that because these products do damage over time, it's just a matter of time. They don't understand that, oh, my dog has never had a reaction to this, and they're 6 years old, so it's fine. But they don't understand why. Then they give it that very next time, and that's when the dog starts having seizures, or any number of skin ailments, or liver problems or things like that. And they don't put two and two together, that sure, you could give it for all those years beforehand, and this is at the point where you gave it this very last time, and that's when your dog's body just couldn't take it anymore, and now there's a problem. So yeah, it is true. It's unfortunate. I wish that it was something that vets made people aware of, because I would be willing to bet that everyone here in our live session today has had a similar experience to what I've had, which is you go to the vet and the vet says, okay, your puppy is now 2 pounds, let's say for a Pomeranian. Your puppy's 2 pounds, so now we're going to give you this such Cordelio pill, and you just give it to your puppy once a month, and it keeps them from getting fleas, ticks, or heartworms. There you go. Okay, go see the receptionist so you can check out and pay this huge bill. Right? There's no discussion of, hey, your puppy is very small and this pill may cause problems. Here's a pamphlet on the side effects that you need to be looking for. Here's the literature on the statistics of how many dogs end up with seizures, neurological disorders, skin conditions, digestive issues. None of that was ever presented. And if you go to the website of the company, yeah, just, if you're ever bored one day, I say this all the time, if you're ever bored one day, go to one of these companies' websites and try to find where they have it listed with the side effects. Just try to find it. I tried to do it in research for one of these live sessions where I had someone who specifically asked about them. I researched for an hour on the company's website and could not find it. They had links having me go in every which direction, and it would say, oh, are you looking for side effects? Oh, come here, look here. And then it would bring me to a frequently asked questions or something like that. Like, they purposefully make it frustrating and difficult if you want to try to do the research. Anyway, Linda, I'm so sorry. You got me off on a tangent. I hope that I answered your question. Okay. Hey, Tiffany's here. Hi, Tiffany. Okay. Heather says, I gave my elderly dog heartworm medicine every 6 weeks and gave it a divided dose, half the first day, half the second day. Would that help the dog any to split the dose but still be, I think it's supposed to be effective? I came up with that on my own, so I don't know. Heather, that is a great question, and I don't know the answer to that either. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, giving it every 6 weeks has been proven to be just as effective as giving it every 30 days. So for that part, I can tell you there is research to back that up, and that is good. As far as splitting the pill half and half, I don't see any problem with it, but I also don't have any research to back it up if that would be just as effective, more effective, easier on the body. I don't know. I think you're on the right track, though. I think it sounds good. But yeah, I don't know. That was a really good question, though. Hey, Claudia's here. She said, oh my God, I finally found the live. We're live. I'm glad you could make it. Hey, Crystal's here. Fantastic. Okay, good. Just scrolling down to the questions. Okay, Jacqueline said, I'm in Florida. Okay, well, I hate to break to you, but that's where all the bugs live. Okay? Bugs. Florida. I used to live there. Huge bugs. So we have flea, ticks, and mosquitoes year round. Yeah. Could treat yard with Wondercide, so maybe could go with just heartworm preventative. If I go with it every 60 days, do you recommend a chewable? Yes, you don't want to do any of the topical flea and tick medicines. Those are some of the worst. So if you want to go that route, yeah, you definitely want to go with a chewable. And she said, thank you, and you rock. You're very welcome. So, yeah, if you look in the files, I have a document on flea and tick and heartworm and what I use. And I say the same thing every time. Everybody needs to do their research. So I don't like to say, unless it's a natural product, what it is that I'm using, because there are a lot of people that will just use what I'm using without doing the research, and I don't want you to do that. So if you go and check out that file, I have everything listed there. Yeah, I know being in Florida just makes it more challenging. So I would recommend that you have the yard treated. The Wondercide is great. You can also use diatomaceous earth. It comes, you can get it real cheap at like a feed store, and you can sprinkle that on the ground. That's really fantastic. That really helps if you have a yard that is prone to worms. Like some people, they end up with just areas of land that are more prone to having things like hookworm or whipworm or, anyway. So the diatomaceous earth will definitely help with that. Again, it's not going to hurt the birds, the wildlife. If they eat the bug, it's not going to bother them at all. So definitely I would take a look at that. Okay, Heather said, how about beforehand getting your daughter something with your dog's scent on it and vice versa, associating it with something calm and relaxing? Absolutely. That would definitely be good. That would be good. Especially if there were treats involved. I'm a huge fan of the Busy Buddy, which I wish I had in here with me, and I don't. I have it linked in my recommendation list if you want to go check it out. It is better than a Kong, and they are fantastic for times like that when you're traveling with your dog, you're going to somebody else's house, there's other dogs there, right? If everybody has a Busy Buddy and you spread them out and you are watching to make sure that nobody tries to take somebody else's, then that can be a good option as well. But yeah, Heather, definitely, that's a good idea. Hey, Crystal's got a question. I thought about one time a month to board my dogs, Ozzy and Rocky, so they can interact with other dogs and be used to people. How does that sound? Because Rocky already starts barking at other dogs when I go to pet stores with him. Yes, so I think that this is a fantastic idea, and let me tell you what I did to see if maybe it would be something that would be helpful for you. So Velocity is very, very protective. And for those of you who are new, Velocity is my oldest standard poodle. She is very emotionally in tuned. She is constantly checking me to make sure I'm okay. She gets up in my face and smells my breath. She is the makings of a therapy dog, does all of those behaviors without being trained, like she just does it naturally. So she's very, very attached to us, which means that when people come over or things like that, she's got a very big bark and she is loud about it. She would never hurt anyone, but she is protective. So what we decided is that we wanted to find a doggy daycare type of place that does doggy daycare. They do boarding, they do training. It's actually a dog trainer that owns it and runs it. And they do agility training and all sorts of other extra type things. But the main things that they do is doggy daycare and boarding. We signed up for the training classes. You guys have probably seen posts where I've said, Velocity and Sega are going to school. We call it taking them to school. So it has been a huge help taking Velocity to school. So she interacts with other people right? Obviously, the people that work there. She interacts with lots of various men, which we don't have a lot of men who come over. So that's very good for her. She's kind of had to, work through herself. And also she's got these training scenarios where not only is she working with somebody other than me or Sue's, she is, working with them, and she's, being asked to do a task. So it has been phenomenal. And it has been so good, in fact, that once we finish out the training sessions with Velocity and Sega, we will be putting Shazam and Kennedy into the exact same school. So I think it's a great way for dogs to have playtime, burn off steam, interact with different people, and learn that other people are good, right? Which is good. And it will help with the barking at other dogs and things like that when you go into pet stores, but you have to have that training component. So if you can find a place that's local to you that has a dog trainer on site, and they'll do little short sessions with your dog during the day, it's usually like just slightly higher than the price of doggy daycare, and you don't have to take them every day. Like right now we do every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And that has been hugely, hugely helpful. So that's what I would recommend. If you find a place that you like, make sure you look at their vaccine requirements, because let me just tell you, when I was searching, I was just so frustrated. There were places that required like a kennel cough vaccine every 4 months. What? Kennel cough vaccine is not effective. Kennel cough is the equivalent of a doggy cold. And if there are other dogs, if there are, it's like your kid going to school. At some point, they're going to get sick. No amount of pumping them full of vaccines is going to keep them from getting a cold or a virus. It's just one of those things that as a parent and as a pet parent, right, you just know, okay, well, my dog's got kennel cough, I need to proceed accordingly. So you're not going to be able to get around a rabies shot, because legally they are going to be required to show proof that your dog has rabies shot. So keep that in mind. But try to find a place that doesn't have ridiculous requirements. Some of them have requirements that the dog is spayed or neutered by 6 months. What? Get out of here with that. They are trying to mitigate liability, and you don't want to take your dog to a facility like that. You want to find somebody who really loves and cares about dogs. They've got at least one trainer or maybe multiple trainers that come in, and it's really about the dogs having fun and having structure. They have rest time where they go into kennels, right? They have time to eat, all these things. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. I'm sorry, Crystal. So, yeah, so that's what I would look for. And then also you want to work with your dog as far as being out in public and barking at other dogs. So you may want to have just a one-on-one training session with a trainer. Usually for one session, it's pretty affordable. I recommend you do it in person if you can. I know there are a lot of places that are still, on lockdown and stuff like that. So do what's appropriate for you and your family. But if you can do it in person, pay for that 1 hour training session, because that's something that a trainer can teach you in 30 minutes. So that'll really be a big help. And then the key is you and all of your family members need to follow through with what the trainer teaches you. So yeah, but I definitely recommend And you had said once a month. You could even do it more than that. If you find a facility, like I said, like the one I found that has a trainer there, and they're willing to work with your dog. Doggy daycare, under the right circumstances, can be good for your dog. If it's just lots of dogs packed in, there's no behaviorist, there's no trainer, it's just, hey, we're watching your dog for you while you're gone, I don't recommend that, because that can be just as bad as taking your dog to the dog park. So, yeah, I hope that helps. Okay. Crystal's got an update on Rocky. So I opened his kennel bigger, like you told me. Yep, I remember we talked about that. But he still did his number 2 in there and managed to get dirty. And yes, we did check him every hour, but he never used the bathroom. So I put him in our bathroom to sleep with the puppy pad, and he did well. But then the second night, he started crying all night, and that's because he sleeps all morning. So we kept him up the next morning, and now he will only sleep good when he's in a baby playpen next to our bed. Okay, so Crystal, you know I love you. You have to have consistency. If you want to do the crate, then you got to keep going with the crate. If you want to do the playpen next to your bed, then keep going with the playpen. If you want to do the bathroom, then keep going with the bathroom. But you have to choose one, because every time you change it, you start from scratch. So let me give you a little perspective. Each dog, each puppy, I should say, has their own training needs, and it takes them time to kind of get the hang of potty training. We are still working on potty training with Kennedy. She's doing a lot better, but she will still have an accident in her crate sometimes very early in the morning. So, and she's almost 6 months now? Whereas Shazam, her counterpart, he has 0 accidents, good to go, doesn't matter. He goes to his potty place, he's like on point, Mr. Perfect. So it just depends on the dog. And sometimes you just have to give them time. I don't remember how old Rocky is, but the other thing that you need to keep in mind is that dogs or puppies can't control their bowel movements until they're 16 weeks old. Now, that's not to say that some puppies don't do better before that, but you really kind of got to give them some leeway, because there's only so much control they're going to have. Now, if you guys are waking up as many times as you're saying that you're waking up to check him, I'm wondering why he's not letting you guys know that he's got to go. I mean, usually a puppy will wake up, right? Like, say if he was in the playpen beside the bed, he'll wake up at, 2 or 3 in the morning. And then you can hear him wake up and you could take him out. So I'm guessing that he's just tired. Rocky is 3 months. Okay. Yeah, it might just take time. I would decide which route you want to go, right? Whether it's the crate, whether it's the bathroom, whether it's the playpen, decide which route you want to go and do that one thing and don't change it. I see that she's commenting down below, so I'll have to get back down to those in just a second. Okay. Okay. Okay, she said, we put him in his crate in the morning when we leave and he's good, but I don't want him to get used to sleep in a baby playpen next to us. Okay, yeah, then don't do it. Don't do it. Wherever you give, right? If you give an inch, then they'll take a mile. And of course, they're always going to want to be closer to you. But the other thing that you have to keep in mind, and this is one of the things that I had to accept with Sega, because Velocity sleeps in the bed with us. Everybody else sleeps in their kennels. And that's not because Velocity gets special treatment, although it does sound that way. When we got Sega, I wanted her to sleep in the bed with us. But she couldn't handle it. She couldn't handle it. And we, of course, didn't want her to be having accidents in the bed. So that's when we transitioned to, okay, let's go ahead and do the kennel and go from there. And now she's a pro. She's fantastic. And she could sleep on a bed if she wanted to. She can sleep in the kennel if she wants to. And she does fantastic. But as a puppy, she needed that structure of, okay, it's time to go night-night. We go to the kennel, we go in, we lay down, right? We have quiet time. The other thing to keep in mind is if you are having your puppy in your room with you, and I mean this with all sincerity and sweetness in my heart, you don't know how crazy you sound when you're asleep. It's true for everyone. People snore, people snort, people talk in their sleep, they make sounds, right? So sometimes making those sounds in the middle of the night can wake up your puppy, and then they're like, hey, I'm awake, I got a potty, right? So you have to keep that in mind. And I am a big fan of playing some kind of ambient noise. So for example, we like to use, if you go onto YouTube, you can actually find videos where it's just 24/7 playing sounds like rain and thunder. And that's just all it is. And so we actually use that because I fall asleep very well to a storm. We actually use that for our dogs. And what it does is it conditions them not only to sleep through a storm, which is helpful in and of itself, but it also helps them if they wake up in the middle of the night to kind of have that comfort of the ambient noise to then put themselves back to sleep. So you may want to consider that as well. Not saying it has to be rain and thunder. You can use whatever sounds you want. But I just find that that works really well for us because sometimes dogs have this unnatural fear of storms, right? It's because they don't happen very often and it's scary, and right? So yeah, I would just say stay at it. I know it's really challenging, but if you stay with it and you're consistent, you will see that your puppy is consistently doing better. And sometimes that means that you're just going to have poop to clean up and there's nothing you can do about it. So I would definitely be encouraging Rocky to poop before he goes to bed, and make sure that if he poops before he goes to bed, that you're giving him a big high value treat for that, so that you know, or that he knows, that you want him to go poop before he goes to bed. So, okay, great. All right, let me see. Okay, Jeanette's got a question. A few months ago, my puppy broke her leg and required surgery. Since then, I've been scared to let him on my bed. Okay, good. I see how people sleep with their babies and I'm just a nervous wreck. Should I be? Yes. It makes me a nervous wreck too, to see people with their palms on their couches, on their beds. We specifically, let me show you. Can you see that? The thing's telling me to rotate my phone. Hopefully you were able to see that. So that's our bed, the box spring anyway, on the floor. I'm actually sitting on the floor. So you can see me. So our bed, as you can see, is on the floor. We did that because we are paranoid about a dog breaking a leg. And the bed is now short enough that it is the same height as the couch. So if something happened and I was in here and Iceland was on the bed and she hopped down, right, hopefully she would jump down correctly and not hurt herself. But I just don't let her on the couch or on the bed. I just don't. Even with Bear, who is significantly bigger than her, she is 5 pounds. He is, I think he's closer to 9 pounds, but he is significantly taller than her. I don't put him on the bed either. He can jump up on the bed, but when he jumps up on the bed, I pick him up and place him down. And you have to remember that anytime you move, anytime you get up to go to the bathroom, anytime you snore in your sleep and it wakes up your dog, right? They have the potential to jump down on their own. So I don't recommend that toy breeds be up on the couch or on the bed. I think you are perfectly within reason to be worried about having your dog on your bed. I know that people love to have their dogs sleep with them. I get it. I totally get it. But you have to take the necessary precautions. Now, having said that, there are some things you can do, and we actually looked into those things. So they make these attachments that go on the side of the bed. It's actually for people who co-sleep, which, if you don't know, is where your infant sleeps with you in the bed between you and your spouse. So there are these, they're like little short mesh walls that go completely around your bed, and you have to lift up and then drop down to get it to go down so that you can get out of your own bed. If you wanted to do something like that, that would work. There are a lot of people that use stairs, and there's some different attachments that you can get to go at the end of your bed. But at the same time, that's, that can be challenging. If you can teach your dog to consistently use the stairs or a ramp, then that's great, as long as they don't get overly excited and just jump off the bed. But either way, if you're going to do either of those things, I recommend that you put your bed on the floor, have it be as low as possible, and look into getting those mesh walls that go right around all 3 sides of your bed. That way your dog can't get off the bed. I hope that's helpful. Yeah, it makes me nervous too when I see it. Okay. Ooh, Marie's got a good question. At what age can puppies start chewing on bully sticks? Well, the answer is 4 weeks. Probably not the answer you were expecting. So, as a breeder, I introduce my puppies to a lot of different things, and one of them is bully sticks when they are 4 weeks old. Now, they're just kind of gumming at it and they don't really have teeth at that point, but yeah. So from the start, you can give your puppies bully sticks. Now, here's the kicker. You need to make sure that you're getting the appropriate size. So I have some documents in the file section of the group. The bones document and the Healthy Chews document. They're two separate documents, and they go over how to choose the appropriate size for your dog's size or the puppy's age. And they give you a list of different options for bones and chews and stuff that's healthy, because let me tell you, there is a ton of stuff on the market that is not healthy. So be careful with that. Yeah, so if you have a small breed puppy, then you want to make sure you're giving them a bully stick that is bigger than the size of their head. So for most toy and mini breeds, that's going to be like in the 6-inch range. For medium to larger breed puppies, that's going to put you in the 7 to 8-inch range. And then for large and extra large breed puppies, that's going to put you upwards of 12 inches. And that is true of all bones, all chews, all toys. And you want to keep track of it as your puppy ages. So as your puppy gets bigger, don't continue to give them the smaller bully sticks. You need to upgrade them to the next size up. They don't necessarily have to eat the whole thing, but what that does by giving them the appropriate size is it reduces the choking risk, which anytime you give your dog something to chew or eat, even if it's a treat or kibble, there is essentially a choking risk. So you always give bully sticks under supervision, and you want to make sure that they're size appropriate. So for example, when Velocity was 8 weeks old, we did 8-inch bully sticks because, right, it's definitely bigger than her head. And I would watch her to make sure, okay, has she chewed it down small enough? Yes, now it's become a potential choking risk. Great, let's grab it and throw it away. The other thing you can do is there is a product on the market called Bully Buddy. I think I've linked it in the group before. I'm sure you'll see the advertisements on Facebook. It's a contraption that holds the bully stick into it so the dog can chew all the way down until the plastic is there holding the bully stick, and then they can't chew any further, so they can't get that little nub that could be a potential choking risk. So those can be very beneficial as well. So yeah, that was a great question. Okay. Hello. Lots of people joining. Okay, great. Hey, Kimberly. Did you hear me just totally trip up over your name? I'm so sorry. Kimberly said, finally got an appointment this coming Friday for a holistic doctor. Thank you for the link. Fantastic. Great. I hope it goes well. Okay. Rabab says, hi, Allie, do you have a homemade human-grade dog food recipe, please, to share? Yes, absolutely. They are all located in the files section of the group. So when you go to the files and you go through, there will be various recipes that are posted, right? It'll say turkey, adult, chicken, beef, salmon, puppy, right? So it will indicate to you on the recipe if it's for an adult or a puppy. So yeah, definitely check those out. Those are free to everyone, right? If you see or hear of someone who is doing homemade at home, whether it's raw or home cooked, share those recipes with them so that they can be sure that they're using a complete and balanced recipe, because it's very important. Okay. Oh, I also have some videos on making dog food. I actually did a live session where I showed everybody how to do it. Crystal said, I'm sorry if I don't make any sense in my questions. I'm working right now, so I'm typing fast. You're doing fantastic. Don't you worry. And for those of you who don't know, Crystal is always tuning in from work because that's all Crystal does is work. And I feel for her because she's a hard worker. Okay, Darla says, I'm so glad I discovered your page. Thank you. You're very welcome. And I'm so glad that you're here. I love seeing all these new faces and getting to know everybody and their dogs. It's really great. Okay. Let me keep going. Okay, it looks like Donna's got a question. I have a 7-month-old party pom. Cute. At first, we were feeding him chicken, ground beef, and turkey with veggies, and then he stopped eating all of that. So we went to Fresh Pet, and we have been really strong and only giving him that. Well, he won't eat that except at night just before bed. He won't eat anything all day until he finds out we're not going to give him anything else. Is there anything I can do? I'm worried about him. Okay, so the first thing you want to do, I had to move you in closer so I could see. Okay, the first thing you want to do is you want to check to make sure that the Fresh Pet is not the variety that contains peas or potatoes, because not all of the Fresh Pet varieties are on the approved list. So that would be the first thing that I would check. Secondly, you want to check to see when you're purchasing the Fresh Pet. Fresh Pet goes bad very quickly. It is notorious for growing mold and slime, and it's unfortunate, but it's just the truth of it. So if you open the bag and you can smell that it's like, is this okay? Then don't feed it. It goes bad very, very quickly. So if you have a bag for more than 4 days, chances are your pom probably doesn't want to eat it because it's gone bad. So I'm just throwing that out as an option. Secondly, I find that dogs, when it comes to Fresh Pet, it's like they like it for a little while and then they don't. I don't know if it's a textural issue or if it has more to do with the food. I don't know. I don't know. And a lot of it depends on what size are the pieces that you're getting, because Fresh Pet comes in shreds, or you can get the little tiny pieces or the bigger pieces. He may be tired of chicken. If it was me, I would rotate him to something else. Having said that, I am a huge fan of the brand Only Natural Pet. You can get it at PetSmart. And the variety that works really great is the Max Meat, one of those, beef. It is an air-dried food. I was thinking about fruit, apparently. And so it's like a jerky style, so it's softer, but dogs love it. I don't recommend that brand's kibble, but their air-dried food, or jerky style is what they call it, is very, very good. And I would go with the beef because, you know, if you've been doing chicken, you switch him to beef, he's probably going to like it. And then once you transition him to that, then I would feed just that. Make sure you're not doing any treats. If you need to give a treat, give some veggies, right? You could do broccoli, you could do squash, cucumbers. My dogs love cucumbers. So, yeah. I would go ahead and just transition him off of the Fresh Pet because he's obviously sick of it and he's, you know, putting up a fight. So, the thing is, I wouldn't want to eat the same thing every day either. And it is better for your dog to rotate foods and use different proteins, right? And give them a variety. So, and I think you'll have good luck with the Only Natural Pet Max beef. You can get it at PetSmart. You can order it on Chewy. Just make sure you get the smaller bag. It's like 2.5 pound bag. And use the little scoop that they give you to measure it out. It's not going to look like a whole lot of food, but that's because it's very nutrient dense. I like to use it as treats as well because the dogs just love it. They just go crazy for it. So hopefully that will help. Okay, great. Scroll down. Oh, good. Rocky has a training session soon. Fantastic. Good. Yeah, if you've booked a trainer for a certain amount of time, like let's say you've got 2 1-hour sessions, make a list. Make a list of things that you want to go over. Have somebody go with you to the training session, and if the trainer's okay with it, record it. That way you can get all of your items addressed. The trainer can show you with the dog what to do, and you can go back and rewatch it if you need to. And most trainers will be okay with that. So yeah, definitely check that out. Okay, great. All right, let me see. Okay, good. Okay, do. Okay, Heather has a question. Sorry, I was just scrolling forever. Okay, how do we find the live sessions later on? Heather, this is a great question. So, earlier when I made live sessions, I didn't have the option to save them. So you'll just have to use the search function, which is a little magnifying glass up in the top right-hand corner of the group, and search for my name. If you just put in a search and put in Allie Garrison, it'll show all of the posts that I've made, which is probably going to be a lot. I'm sorry. But you can go through there and it'll show you like the little video. For my most recent live sessions, I've been able to record them and save them, and I actually post them to my YouTube channel. So for the most recent live sessions, I have a whole playlist. It's live with a Canine Nutritionist, and then you can go through. I try to go back through and put the topics in the description, so if there's something specific that you're looking for, or if you just want to listen to our live sessions while you're doing something else, you can do that too. I have quite a few people who've said that they like to turn on the live sessions and then do the dishes or whatever, because you don't necessarily have to be looking at me, right, to hear what we're talking about. So yeah, I would check those out on the YouTube channel. Or like I said, for those much earlier ones, you'll have to do a search in the group. Okay, Keisha's here. She's like, I'm back. All right, Keisha's back. So what are your thoughts on feeding fish flavor wet canned food long term? So my thing is, cats are so tricky. I love cats. I've had cats before. They're phenomenal pets, but man, they could be little buggers when it comes to food. It's like, just eat what I want you to eat. And they're like, no, I refuse. So ideally, it can be challenging, right? If you have a cat that will only eat fish-based food, which I had one before, I get it. You just have to do the best you can. The reason why I recommend to not feed only fish-based foods, either to dogs or cats, is because a lot of the fish that they use is higher in mercury, higher in metals, right? They're fish that are kind of in the middle of the food chain. And so feeding them on a regular basis, the idea is those heavy metals and toxins and things build up in your dog's system, or your cat's system. Sorry, Keisha. So do I recommend feeding them only fish-based food forever and ever? Amen? No. If that is the only thing that your cat will eat, then at least you're feeding them wet food, and I support you in that. So I know that cats can be challenging. You just have to do the best you can. And like I said, I had a cat before, and she just refused. She hated beef, venison. I tried emu one time. I tried everything. Chicken, lamb, didn't matter what it was. She would not eat it. If it was not a fish, she didn't want it. So, yeah, you just got to do the best you can. Cats are tricky. But at least you're feeding wet food. And for those of you who don't know or who may be new, I do have a started recommendation list for feeding cats. However, there is no kibble on that list, and there never will be, because cats should never be fed kibble. And Keisha, I know you already know that, but I'm just telling the people who are new. Okay. Okay, Jeanette's got a question. My vet frowns on breeders, of course. Every visit she tries to convince me to spay or neuter. Is there such thing as an OBGYN for dogs? Yes, it's called a reproductive vet. I would highly recommend that you get away from the vet that you have. So, especially if you're going to be breeding, you don't want to have to rely on them if there's some kind of emergency, or if you need an ultrasound or an x-ray, because here's what can happen. This actually happened to a breeder friend of mine. So her vet was very much against breeding and was constantly trying to pressure her into spay and neuter. So the husband ends up taking the dog in because the dog is throwing up, and he says, hey, the dog might be pregnant, but she's throwing up. I don't really know what's going on, right? The wife's at work. And so the vet says, oh, okay, well, let's just put her on this medication, which was not okay for a potentially pregnant female to be taking. And he gave her 3 booster shots, which you do not do to a potentially pregnant dog. So he had zero regard for the fact that she might be pregnant, and was actually could have been potentially liable if the dog had miscarried. So those puppies from that litter ended up having a whole laundry list of problems. It was bad. I'm not going to go into too much detail to, maintain their privacy, but it was bad. So if you are a breeder and your vet is not supportive, get out of Dodge. There are so many other vets that are either neutral or they're actual reproductive vets that you can use. You are not limited to your one vet who is anti-breeder. So please get all of your records from them, transfer them to somewhere else. Now, you may have to drive a little bit further for a reproductive vet. I have to drive almost 2 hours. It's like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes to get to mine. But let me just tell you, she is worth every minute of that drive. They are fantastic. They are there for me when I need something. I can call stuff in and say, hey, my female, she's not doing really well. She doesn't want to take the oral calcium. I need calcium shots. And they will say, okay. They run my credit card and boom, I've got shots there to pick up. Like, having a reproductive vet who knows what they're doing is worth their weight in gold. So you may have to drive a little bit further, but just trust me on this, it's worth it. And this goes for anyone who has a dog, whether it's for breeding or just a pet. If your vet is pressuring you to do something that you don't want to do, or that you've expressed concern about, or you're just not sure, find another vet. It is a service industry. Just like if you go to the doctor and the doctor is rude to you, find another doctor. Same thing with the vet. Only it's much easier with a vet because you could just pick up and go, right? So you don't have to find somebody in network, right, for your insurance like we do as humans. It's much more complicated. So yeah, just go to another vet. Don't let somebody talk down to you. Don't let somebody tell you that your concerns are not valid. Don't let somebody try to pressure you into spaying or neutering your dog, especially if they're telling you that they need to do it before the dog is preferably 2 years old. But if they're, 6 months or less and they're trying to get you to book an appointment, no. It's not in the best interest of the dog. It's certainly not in the best interest of you. Find another vet. Find somebody who really cares about the dogs, right? Who's doing it because they love it, who's not burnt out. Some of these older vets are, bless their hearts. I feel for them. I'm not trying to put them down. I know that they work in an industry where they are expected to be a general practitioner, a surgeon, a reproductive specialist, a nutritionist. They're expected to be multiple specialties all rolled into one. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot to know. And, they're not properly trained to do all of those things, specifically nutrition. So, yeah, if you are constantly being berated by your vet, either have a very candid conversation with them, which is what I did with my vet. I said, hey, I appreciate that you feel like you're doing the right thing, but I am not that person. I'm not going to bring my dog in for unnecessary boosters. I am not going to spay and neuter them, so you can just stop asking. As a matter of fact, please document it in the chart that I have no intention of doing it. Please don't bring it up every time I come in. If you continue to do so, then I will take my business elsewhere. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying it as a professional courtesy. Please treat me with respect and I will treat you with respect, because I'm not going to be berated every time I come in. And if you have that kind of candid, honest conversation with your vet, if they have a negative reaction to it, then you've already got your answer. It's time to find somebody else. But in the case of my vet, they said, okay, so we will just agree to disagree on certain things, and I'll make a note in your chart and we'll go from there. And I said, thank you. I would greatly appreciate it. So, yeah. But yes, it's called a reproductive vet, to answer your question, Jeanette, and you should definitely find one. Okay, Claudia said, that's how I was able to find this live, because I didn't get a notification. Okay, so supposedly Facebook, I saw somebody post about it the other day. They did an update. So now if you go, if you're on a phone, I think up in the upper corner up here, there will be some three little dots. You can click it and it will allow you to turn on notifications for live sessions. I think if you're on a computer, you'll just have to look, because I don't know where the settings are. But yeah, if you take a look there in the top upper corner, I'm not sure which corner it'll be, I think it's on the right hand side, it'll let you set the notifications to be notified that there's a live session taking place. But like I said, I do record them now, so they do get uploaded to the YouTube channel, so you should also subscribe to the YouTube channel, just saying. Okay. Okay. Allie, what do you feed your dogs? Oh, that's a loaded question. Do you do different meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Yes. Okay, so here we go. Currently, we are doing a mixture of kibble, freeze-dried raw, and home-cooked. And I am also finishing off a bag of Sojos, which I believe is freeze-dried. Anyway, I do wild combinations of things. I like to buy things when they're on sale. Previously, I was doing all home-cooked, but then COVID happened and the stores ran out of meat in our area. It was stressful, and as much as I hated it, I had to put all the dogs back on kibble. So we are kind of getting back to normal. And so we are doing, we rotate different proteins. Right now we are doing fish, and treats are beef. I don't do different meals throughout the day, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, but we do rotate every month. So next month we'll be doing, like chicken and pork or something like that. I also rotate the types of chews and bones that they have. Again, a lot of that depends on what's on sale. Right now, they're getting a lot of trachea chews because we were able to find a bunch of them on sale. So, yeah, I do a lot of different stuff, which is what I recommend for everybody. Especially people who have poodles with a sensitive stomach. I see this so often in the poodle groups, and it breaks my heart because I know that people are frustrated that they can only feed their poodles lamb or sensitive stomach food or whatever. But you've got to, like I said before, you got to build up that microbiome. You got to give them an opportunity to be exposed to the foods. It's like, you have to think about it like a baby, right? And for those of you who have never had a child, you introduce them to various types of foods a little bit at a time, right? To kind of get them going. And when you first get them going on solid food, any parent or babysitter or nanny or family member who's changed a diaper will tell you, holy cow, it is horrible, right? Doo-doo city. Like, it is bad. So but as the baby grows, right, and their microbiome grows, right, they become more accustomed to eating different things. And now look at us. We're all full-blown adults, and we don't eat the same thing every day, right? We don't have the same meal at every meal. And the same is true of dogs. We've done them a huge disservice by listening to vets who said, just feed this one food and this one brand and don't ever change it and don't ever do this and don't give them people food, which, by the way, if you didn't know, yeah, that's real food. The people food, that's real food. Give your dog the real food. So yeah, rotation. If you build them up to a point where you can do a rotation at every meal, which a lot of people do, more power to you. High five. I support you. If you want to do a rotation every 2 weeks, great. Every month, great. If your dog has an extremely sensitive system and you want to do a rotation every 2 months, great. That's great. So, you got to find what works best for you, but absolutely feed them, do a rotation, right? Don't feed them the same thing all the time. Okay, Keisha says, however, salmon is considered a healthy type of fish. It is, but you have to remember that the quality of the fish that's going into pet food, it already didn't make the cut to be okay for people food, right? So is salmon a healthy type of fish? Yes, absolutely. It has a lot of really fantastic qualities, but you have to remember, just keep in the back of your mind that the quality that's going into pet food is not the same that's going into the store. So just keep that in mind. Yes, Jeanette. Yeah, you do a search for a reproductive veterinarian. Yes. But you need to really look at, when you're looking at the vet's website, you need to look at the services that they offer. If it says anything about ultrasounds, x-rays, it may list AI, which is artificial insemination, whelping services, C-sections, all of those things would fall, health testing, OFA, pen hip testing, all of those fall under reproductive. If they don't list any of those things on their website, call them and see if they do those type of things. If they don't, it's not a reproductive vet, move on to the next one. Because I am seeing that a lot more vets are using those type of keywords, but they're not actually a reproductive vet. So yeah, do some research, see what might be available in your area. Reproductive vets are also the ones that do the ovary sparing spay and vasectomy. So they may list that as an option, not just spay and neuter. So yeah, take a look at that. Okay, Anthony said, did you ever do a video on the YouTube for the Embark DNA test that you did? Anthony, why are you calling me out, man? Why are you calling me out? Anthony, I thought we were friends. You and me, we were friends. No, I'm just playing. So we haven't done them yet. You guys, life, okay? They are sitting on my desk and I have been meaning to do them. Here's the challenge. We get up very early in the morning and the dogs, right when we get up, we feed the dogs. Well, you have to wait a certain amount of time after they eat to be able to do the DNA tests. Anyway, because they're all three still puppies, it hasn't been a huge priority for me because I know that they come from parents that are health tested. But Anthony, I promise you, we are going to do a video. I do still have the tests. Yeah. So you did not miss it. I have not done it. And I'm fired. I hope you can forgive me. Okay. Oh, Claudia says we found the YouTube before Facebook. Fantastic. Good. That's great. I love when people come over from the YouTube channel. That's always good. Okay, Jeanette says, what's your opinion on breeding back to back? Hey, this is a great question. Okay, I thought you should skip a heat, but then a breeder told me I shouldn't, and she mentioned Pyometra. Yes. That's why finding a reproductive vet is on top of my list. I just want to do best for my girls. Fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about this because it used to be frowned upon to breed back to back. But the latest research from the very top in veterinary reproductive sciences says that when a female dog goes into heat, it doesn't matter if she is bred or not, the body acts like it's pregnant, chemically speaking. So what does that mean? So when a female goes into heat, there's this cycle where her progesterone goes up, right? And once it's about here at like, a level 15, then you breed, and then it kind of levels out. And if the pregnancy takes, then the progesterone will still be up here, right? And she'll have a pregnancy. If she doesn't, then after a period of time, it starts to come back down, right? But during that time frame, the body acts like it's pregnant. This is what leads to false pregnancies, right? Where you have a dog that was not bred at all, but went through a heat cycle and is now collecting all of her little stuffed animal toys and acting like she's pregnant and producing milk when she's not. It's because her body, the hormones, right, are telling her that she's pregnant even though she's not. So one of the reproductive vets that I follow very closely, and I watch his webinars and seminars and things like that, he likes to say that a full uterus is a happy uterus. So what he recommends and what I recommend is that you evaluate your female after each litter. So once the litter is completely weaned and the female is now, you know, kind of bouncing back. With Pomeranians, they have a tendency to blow their coat. So what I like to look at is how well does the female recover? How well did she do when she was feeding the puppies, right? Was she struggling to produce enough milk? Did she have a particularly tough labor where it was very drawn out and she had to do a lot of pushing and, you know, it took 2 days to get all the puppies out, right? Like all of these things, you need to be recording it all along the way so that when you go back and look at your notes, you can say, oh, okay, well, I see here with her first litter, everything was easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. And then with litter number 2, it seems like we've had some more challenges and she's not doing as well. Maybe we should skip a litter or skip a heat, right? How well is her coat coming back? How is she acting? Is she back to her normal self? Did her milk production dry up in a timely manner without any mastitis, right? Did she have mastitis when she had the puppies? All of these things are things that you need to take into account when you're evaluating that time frame before the next heat. And you need to evaluate and decide before that next heat cycle, because this is where a lot of breeders go wrong. So let's say she has a tough time, she has a hard labor, she doesn't do well with the puppies, right? Or it was a very small litter, or she had a C-section, and now you've kind of had these months go by where you haven't had to think about all of this. Now she's in heat again, and you're like, okay, am I going to breed her or not? Now you've got this finite window when you can make a decision. And what I'm saying is you need to make the decision beforehand. You need to be ready. So you need to be marking on the calendar, whether that's in your phone or in a happy planner or whatever makes you happy for keeping up with your breeding information. You need to be marking on the calendar when are her heat cycles so that before the next one, you can be prepared and say, okay, we know we're skipping this one. We've got doggy diapers on hand. We've got a bodysuit for her to wear. We're going to put her in a onesie if she's a little small dog. We're going to keep the male dogs away. I've already coordinated with my best friend. She's going to keep our male for 2 weeks. So he'll be on doggy vacation and there won't be any chance that she can get pregnant, right? If you make the decision beforehand, then you can plan accordingly so it doesn't all just come on you at one time and then you're like, oh. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. Assuming that the female does well, assuming that she does well during labor and delivery, she does well whelping, weaning the puppies, she bounces back very well, then I recommend breeding back to back. There are some instances where you're going to need to skip a heat. If your female has a C-section, you're going to want to skip a heat. You want to give her time so that she can, recover, because that's more in depth than just having a birth. So there are situations where you'll want to skip a heat, but for the most part, I recommend breeding back to back, skipping if needed, and retiring early. And that is one of the keys. You don't want to breed a dog until they're 7, 8, 9 years old, right? That's not appropriate. You're going to run into a lot of problems in that age range. So you need to be looking at, okay, here's the litter that she had, here's how she recovered, let's make a plan. Are we skipping the next one, or are we going to go ahead and breed? So yeah, but there is nothing wrong with breeding back to back. And yes, if you skip a heat, there is a potential risk of Pyometra, which for those of you who don't know, that is an infection of the uterus Not to be gross, if you're eating right now, please plug your ears. It is where the uterus fills with pus, and it is life-threatening. So if you are going to skip a heat, you need to be on the lookout for any signs of fever, any discharge that's not normal, right? You need to keep an eye out. So there is a higher risk of Pyometra, but obviously if you're being observant, then you will catch it early on and you can take your dog to the vet. So, and as they get older, there's also, right, the higher risk of Pyometra. So yeah, but that was a great question. Okay. Let me go to Pat's here. I gotta open it up, make it bigger. Okay, my pup is 6.5 months old, and there is a high probability he will need surgery to pull a number of baby teeth. Okay, my vet is okay if we wait till he is 1 year before surgery, but suggested to neuter and chip at the same time. If I decide to neuter him, I was waiting until he was 2 years. Okay, good. Is it better to neuter at 1 year with the teeth, or is it better to wait and neuter at 2, which means 2 surgeries with anesthesia in 18 months? Pat, this is a great question. So, the first thing that I want to address is the retained puppy teeth. So, your puppy is still very young, and I would love to know what type of puppy it is. Are we talking about a Pomeranian? Let me know. So your puppy is still a puppy. What I would recommend is 2 things. 1, take a look at the Bones and Healthy Chews document and start incorporating size-appropriate raw meaty bones. Okay, she said Pomeranian. Size-appropriate raw meaty bones into your dog's diet. This is why dogs retain their puppy teeth. It's because we've bred them down smaller and smaller and smaller, so their mouths are smaller, right, and more compact. And then also they don't have the correct types of chews to loosen those teeth and get them out. Your puppy is still young. You've got time. You can do it as long as you are diligent about getting those puppy teeth out. So you need to incorporate raw meaty bones that are size appropriate. I highly recommend things like chicken necks, turkey necks, wings. Those are really good ones for Pomeranians, and also to help loosen up those teeth without, getting into bones that are too dense. The other thing I would do, and it's very important that you listen, is get a rope toy. Now, the reason why I'm saying it's important that you listen is you never, ever, 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 ever leave the rope toy down with your dog when you are not actively playing with the dog and the rope toy. Rope toys are notorious for coming unraveled, getting tangled up in your dog's intestinal tract, emergency trip to the ER, bad, 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 okay? There is one thing that rope toys are good for, and it is loosening up puppy teeth. So, here's what I like to do. I like to take a rope toy, play really hard, get them really amped up, tug, 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 throw, go get it, come back, tug, 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 lots of tugging, right? Really get them going, like have them, don't dangle your dog from a rope toy, but really get them invested in doing that jerking motion that dogs do, where here's the rope toy and they're pulling on it, right? And they're really trying to get it from you. That type of motion with the little fibers of the rope are great for loosening up puppy teeth, and that in conjunction with raw meaty bones will pop those teeth out, hopefully. Now, again, do not, under any circumstances, leave that rope toy laying around. It's the type of toy where you play every single day, and then you put it in a drawer somewhere where your puppy can't get to it. So that way it keeps them safe, but it also keeps them excited about that toy because they only get it once a day. So that's my first recommendation to you. Now, if you take that recommendation and you are diligent about playing with the rope toy, playing tug, really loosening up those teeth, incorporating the raw meaty bones, then if you get to the 1 year mark and your puppy still has a bunch of teeth and you've tried everything that you can, then I would go ahead and do the teeth removal. And my preference would be for a vasectomy, but if you have to do a neuter, then I understand. And at least he gets to 1 year, right, so that he can mostly complete growing. With Pomeranians, for the most part, they are done growing around 1 year to 1.5 years. And then that additional part of the 2 years is so their coat can grow in correctly, because it takes 2 years for their coat to come in fully. So if you opt for a vasectomy, you can do it at any time. So if you wanted teeth pulled tomorrow and do a vasectomy, you could do it because his hormones would still be intact and he'd be okay. But if that's not an option, then yeah, I would just do the very best you can. Now is a perfect time. You still got time. And just see if you can loosen up those teeth. So, the other thing that I want to mention, that I want you to mention to your vet, is you need to know the name of the anesthesia that they use. And I make reference to this all the time, and I need to pull up the receipt from when Iceland had her surgery so I can remember the name. I want to say it starts with an R. Okay. Anyway, I digress. You want to ask your vet what is the name of the anesthesia that they use, because there are 2 different anesthesias on the market now that are phenomenal and have a very, very high success rate because they enter the dog's system very quickly and they exit the dog's system very quickly. And the exiting part is very important because normally vets have to work very, very hard, right? Rubbing the dog, hey, wake up, puppy, right? To bring them out of anesthesia. This new anesthesia leaves the body like that. And that's very important because it doesn't depress their heart rate, right? And there's a whole laundry list of things that can go wrong. And this anesthesia has a much higher success rate. I want to say it starts with an R, but don't quote me on that. So ask them what it is that they use. Ask them how long it takes to leave the dog's system. If they're just using like old school anesthesia methods, find another vet to do the surgery. You can go wherever you want to go. You don't have to use your normal vet to do a neuter. So find somebody who uses the more the latest and greatest as far as anesthesia goes. And I really need to look that up to see what the name of it is. I need to look in Iceland's file. If you remind me, Pat, excuse me. If you remind me, sorry, we were up late last night playing the Wii. If you remind me, Pat, I'll look it up for you. Okay. Anthony said, okay, I'm just ready to watch. I know. I need to get on that. I'm sorry. Okay. Let me see. We got more questions. Everybody's got questions. Okay. D says, with males, how long do you allow them to breed? I know not to breed before 18 months. Okay, so males are a different story. Males, again, assuming that they've passed all their health testing and that they're healthy and doing well, they can breed much longer than a female. And this is why I tell new breeders, when you're looking at purchasing a male, you need to remember that the males are going to be the foundation of your breeding program. A lot of people, they only focus on the females, but a male you can breed much, much longer than you can a female, right? Because you have to retire the females early. So, it's really just depends on the male. I have had males that continued to very happily and very easily breed until they were 7 or 8 years old. I find that if you go much further than that, you need to check their sperm count and vitality. So you'll want to have a reproductive vet check that. It can start to taper off after that. But yeah, I mean, if the male is healthy and happy to perform, then yeah, you can definitely keep breeding them. I know of a breeder, she was a show breeder, who has a male that very consistently puts out gorgeous show dogs, and he just turned 11. And he has great motility, he's got great sperm count, so they just keep using him, and he performs naturally. So, and I'm sure he's happy to do it. So, like I said, it really depends on the dog. It depends on, how well they're doing, how healthy they are, and, how healthy the puppies are that they're producing. But yeah, males you can definitely use in your breeding program for much, much longer. But they don't have the same kind of stipulations as a female. Although I will say, if you have a male that is having challenges, or let's say he just bred to a female a month ago and now you're wanting to breed him to a different female, or someone's wanting to use him for stud service and he's having some challenges performing, it may be time to give him a break, or possibly look into boosting him with a supplement. Stud mate is a good one. So yeah, it all just depends on your boy. But Dee, that's a great question. Okay, Kathy says, hey Allie, hello. I believe I adopted a dog. We think she is between 10, 11, 12. Last year, we didn't know what was going on. Thought she was fixed. Even the vet thought she was. Turned out she was and had an infected uterus, needed surgery. Okay, funny thing, she wouldn't leave my son alone. She was following him all over and wanted to sleep with him. She's okay now, thank God. Yeah, I will say, Kathy, that, you adopted, so obviously you didn't do this. But for others who can learn from this, I hear this story very often from people who take their dogs to go to the spay and neuter clinics, where you can get your dog spayed or neutered in 30 minutes, and it costs you, a fraction of the price. Some places I've seen you could get your cat spayed or neutered, and it's like $10, $15, $20. So this, Kathy has given us a perfect example of what happens when you opt for the cheaper healthcare. So it can be very problematic, and you can run into problems where, like with this one, the dog was essentially spayed, but they left some piece behind, which turned out to be infected, and then she needed to have surgery. So yeah, I am not a fan of spay and neuter clinics. I think that they cause more problems than they solve. The only spay and neuter clinics that I really support are for feral cat colonies that their populations are becoming out of control. I think that is a necessity for a spay and neuter clinic where they're just doing cat after cat after cat after cat. But other than that, I don't think that they're a good idea. And Kathy, I would not be surprised if that was something that had happened to your adopted dog, because they are literally just churning them out. It's like an assembly line. It's like boom, onto the next one, onto the next one. I mean, it's scary. I saw a video that has since been removed from YouTube where a vet tech was documenting one of those clinics, and the way the animals were treated and how quickly the surgeries were done was just scary. It was very scary. So anyway, that's very interesting that that happened. Okay, great. Okay, Pat said, I'll ask for the anesthesia name and discuss vasectomy. It's all his uppers and lowers teeth in the front, so it's a lot of teeth. Okay, Pat, actually, that works to your favor. If you are willing to do the rope toy thing that I talked about and incorporate the raw meaty bones, it's actually really great that he's got all those puppy teeth, because they're more likely to come out. If you just had one or maybe two, then it would be a little more challenging. But I'm telling you, rope toys and raw meaty bones and those little puppy teeth will be coming right out of there. Oop, okay. Let me scroll down. Kathy has another question. I should do a live session where I just like sing song all of the questions. That would be great. Okay, hi, I have another question. I also have a Pom, male, 2 years old. He's fixed and keeps getting after my female Shih Tzu. Any advice? Okay, I'm assuming when you say getting after, that you mean he is Mr. Humpy Hump. So, humping is a behavioral issue. It doesn't have anything to do with hormones. It's behavioral. So even though he's fixed, it can still be an issue. I often find that males who are fixed are often more fixated on humping than those who are left intact. So what I would do is correct the behavior right before it happens. So if you can see that he is gearing up and getting ready to pay too much attention to her, Mr. Humpy Hump, I would either jump up and distract him with something, so a toy, a treat, telling him, hey, you want to go outside? Like whatever the key words are that get him excited, let's redirect that energy into something else. So you can do that. If the behavior has already started, you're going to want to correct it, right? Tell him no, and then physically make him get off of her. So, you're going to have to get down there on their level and push them apart. When you get down there on their level, tell him no, push them apart, you're going to need to give him something to do to get that excitement and that energy out. So if he has, here's a really good one. I like to use this with puppies too. Get a cat toy that you see, I think they make them for dogs now too. They're called flirt poles. It's like a stick with a string on it and then a stuffed animal at the end. They used to just make them for cats, but I guess they make them for dogs now too. You can get a cat toy for small dogs. Just make sure it's not like feathers or something at the end. It needs to be like an actual stuffed animal. You can get the kind where it's like a little fish or something like that. And run him all around. Get him really excited about that, right? You're going to take his mind off of it. And then if you continue to do that and you're consistent, then he will stop. Because it definitely is a behavioral issue. And side note, it can also happen with females. Because ever since we got Iceland spayed, she has become a little humpy hump, and she, will hump the other dogs. So that's something that we've had to deal with as well. So yeah. Okay, great. Well, believe it or not, we have gotten to the end of the questions. So, if anybody has any other questions, go ahead and pop them down in the comments there. Otherwise, we will wrap up this live episode. Allison said, I'm watching you. Kathy, you're very welcome. That's so funny. Allison, you crack me up. All right, what do you guys got? What do you got? What do you got? Any more questions? Okay. All right. Well, I think that's going to be the end of our live session today, but we will have more of them, so don't panic. If you missed the first part of the live session, then no worries. You can watch it from the beginning. It will be posted in the group, and also it will be available on the YouTube channel as well. So I hope that you guys are having a wonderful weekend. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I hope that you have lots of sunshine where you are, because we are having so much sunshine, and you guys, I am loving it. So thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Dee. You guys are so fantastic. Okay, well, I've had a blast, and now it's time for our show to be over. Okay, so you guys be good. Don't do anything I wouldn't do unless it's fun, in which case go for it. And as always, be kind, rewind.